I used to think financial freedom meant never having to worry about money again. That was the goal. That was what I was building toward. A number in my account that was large enough that the anxiety would finally stop and I could breathe and make decisions without that low-level financial pressure underneath everything. I hit versions of that number more than once, and the anxiety did not stop. It changed shape. It found new things to attach to, new vulnerabilities, new uncertainties, new reasons to keep pushing. It took me a long time to understand why. The number was never the problem. The structure underneath the number was. Financial freedom is not a number, it is a throughput problem. Most systems generate income that requires constant input to keep moving. Remove the input and the output stops. That is not freedom. That is a more comfortable dependency. Freedom is when the system generates output independent of your direct effort. That gap between income that requires you and income that does not is the only definition that actually holds. Once I understood that, the entire goal changed. I stopped asking, how do I earn more, and started asking, how do I build a system that earns without me having to be the engine every single day? That reorientation changed every decision I made after that point. The first thing it changed was how I thought about the structure of my income. Most income systems are built for acquisition. Get the client, close the deal, generate the revenue. But acquisition-based systems have a structural ceiling. They require constant new input to maintain output. The moment acquisition slows, the whole system contracts. Sustainable income is not built on acquisition. It is built on retention architecture. That is the structural difference between income that compounds and income that churns. I had been building an acquisition machine without realizing it. Every month started from roughly the same place because nothing I had built was designed to compound. Clients came in, clients left. Revenue stayed roughly flat, despite the effort increasing every year. The ceiling was invisible until I understood what was causing it. Once I saw the structural problem, I could start fixing it. Retention architecture means building systems where the default is for clients to stay, to deepen their engagement, to spend more over time rather than exit. It means designing the client experience so that leaving costs more than staying. It means creating recurring value, not just recurring invoices. When retention becomes the structural priority rather than acquisition, the entire economics of the business change. Revenue becomes more predictable. Growth becomes more compounding. And the constant pressure to replace churning clients with new ones starts to ease. The second structural problem I had to confront was what I now call lock-in debt. High income without exit architecture creates a specific structural condition. The system becomes harder to leave the more it earns because overhead, obligations, and complexity scale with revenue. This is called lock-in debt. It is not visible on a profit and loss statement. It shows up when you try to step back and realize the system cannot run without you. That is not financial freedom. That is high-income dependency. I built significant lock-in debt in my business without noticing it happening. Every new client added complexity. Every new team member added a dependency. Every new offer added an obligation. The revenue looked like progress. The structure underneath was becoming a more elaborate cage. Unwinding that took longer than building it did. And I made the mistake that most founders make, which is waiting until the weight of it was unbearable before starting to address it. The time to build exit architecture is not when you want to exit. It is from the beginning. Every system you build should have a version of itself that can run without you making every decision. Not because you plan to leave, but because a system that can run without you is structurally more valuable, more saleable, and more free than one that cannot. The third thing I had to understand was the difference between income that feels free and income that is structurally free. Income that feels free is when you have enough coming in that day-to-day decisions feel less pressured. Most entrepreneurs experience this temporarily when revenue is up and costs are stable. It feels like freedom, but it is actually just comfortable dependency. One bad quarter and it evaporates. Income that is structurally free is different. It is income that continues flowing even when you are not actively generating it. When the systems, the retention, the recurring structures, and the compounding relationships are doing the work. That structural freedom does not evaporate with one bad quarter because it is not dependent on your constant input to exist. Building toward structural freedom rather than comfortable dependency is a completely different set of priorities. It means accepting lower immediate revenue in some cases to build systems that compound. It means investing in retention before acquisition. It means building exit architecture before you need it. It means measuring not just how much is coming in, but how much would continue coming in if you step back for 60 days. That last question is one of the most clarifying questions I know. If you stopped actively working for 60 days, what would your income look like on day 61? The gap between your current income and the answer to that question is the size of the structural work still left to do. Financial freedom is not a feeling. It is not a number. It is a structural condition that you design deliberately or you do not have it, regardless of how much you earn. That is the real meaning. And now that you can see it clearly, you can start building toward it with the right priorities and the right order. If you have been here from the beginning, you know every piece of this connects. If today is your first video, go back to episode 1. Subscribe, because tomorrow we go further. I will see you then.